honestly feel people who put Barra motors in VLs. It must be so hard dealing with these mental problems. What's wrong with Australia now? FFS, it's not on. This gonna trigger the Holden boys. In Australia, we say Bowser fuel, not pump. Have you ever heard someone say, I'm going to get some Bowser fuel? That's complete bull. I've never heard that saying ever. No way. Even in Australia, you say, pay at the pump. Pump fuel. Bowser is a term maybe your grandparents used. Pump fuel is parents used. Unleaded. It's not E85. When someone says they're running on pump fuel, it means they're running on unleaded. You're not running on Bowser fuel. Bowser fuel. I went and filmed this car in the dyno recently. It was Jim's V6 Commodore. It's been around a long time now. It's been around for ages. Pretty unique build as in people just don't push, you know, there's very few in the country that probably even push them this hard. Big power, 800 kilowatts, and of course, good old YouTube comments. So much money, so little outcome. And you think, okay, so it's a street car that's running, I think it's running 8.7 now. The engine's been in the car quite a few years now, it's done pretty well. Drives it around a bit, but apparently there's no outcome. This is rubbish. What was the owner thinking? Should be running 6s. Should have stuck a Barra in it. Oh, speaking of Barras, what's the next comment? You can make that off a stock F6 motor. Because there's heaps of 8-second Barra Falcons getting around, isn't there? No, stock unopened engine. Stock unopened Barras making 800 at the wheels. Just a lazy 800? Yeah. I didn't realise they were that strong.
But there's more.
So it takes 40 grand to do what a 2 grand Barra can do. I didn't say 800 kilowatts costs 2 grand now, does it? Sign me up. But that was nothing. In the video, we made a monumental error. There was a typo, and we said it was a 96 Commodore. Apparently, it's a 98.
I want somebody's butt. I want it now. I've had it. God damn it!
And it surprised me how many people pick up on just stupid like this. You know, that passionate about their VT Commodores. You got the wrong year. You know what's even more monumental? Got the year wrong. It isn't that hard to get the year right. Someone stuffed up. I think you just copied the specs from another video of the same car. I think so that means there's 2 videos with the wrong year. Far out. This is going to have a dire consequences. I don't know how I'm going to sleep at night. I don't think there was as much butthurt as me doing the video with Lewis's ED. Now, how much better does that sound than a bloody Barra? Just giving it to the Barra fans. By the way, these t-shirts, $29.95 in our shop, if you want to buy one. He's talking like the single overhead cam 4-litre is better than the Barra. No. Full built motors can hold huge power. Then again, full built Barras are destroying his quarter mile times. Even stock bottom end Barras are on this built quarter mile times. What the hell is this guy going on about? Wilson. Good effort out of a single cam, but don't go banging on about. Saying, let me get this right. The stock bottom end Barras are blitzing the Jet V6, they're blitzing the Jet V6, and they're also blitzing this car in quarter mile times. And they've actually run similar times. They're both 8.6, 8.7. Not to mention the fact they're blitzing all of those cars. They're doing it for 2 grand. 2 grand.
It gets better.
A single cam motor is flat out holding together with 250 wheel kilowatts. Anyone can talk with a full built motor, box shafts and diffs. These Barras are still stock bottom end smoking his time. Can someone just point me in the direction of stock bottom end Barra Falcons? I should say Falcons smoking this time. There must be a fair list going around now. They're just stock bottom ends. That are just mid-8s and quicker. Mid-8s and quicker.
Did you see the memo about this?
Because apparently all these cars we're featuring, just go to the wreckers and just get a good FG motor for 2 grand. That's all you need. By the way, $29.95. Anyway, but isn't a Barra way cheaper to do this? Not really. You've still got to put a crank and all the rest of them in these engines, don't you?
$2,000.
Oh, $2,000 stock.
$2,000.
Tune only. And the best mod you can do on a Barra is put an external gate screamer pipe, 4-inch with a screamer pipe. Because you know how good Barras sound with a screamer pipe? Guys! I saw a VY Commodore with a turbo as big as that with an LS1. You'd have to say, no matter what you do, you fully work a 6 and fully worked an 8 beside it, the V8 gonna take it out all the time. All you gay boys and your 6s, who cares? I love people like that who write that knowing they're clicking on a video of a 6-cylinder, but I'll just get in there and just cane the 6-cylinder.
And probably written by someone who's never actually spent money on either engine, so...
No. Totally jealous. The reality is, like, getting back to Jim's crappy V6, it's quicker than 95% of LS street cars. Speaking about people on the internet who just have no effing clue, see Rick's little Starlet, ran pretty good the other week, 10.2, 140 odd. It's got wheelie bars out the back.
They're called traction bars.
Nah, what's with the wheelie bars? What's with the mono bars? It's a front wheel drive. It might be quicker if it weren't dragging something pointless behind it. Pointless. Massive wheelie bar and a front wheel drive. Right. And I know plenty about drag racing.
I love too that when Rick's been working this car for probably, what, 15 years?
I don't know if you've noticed, the wheelbase is about as long as this phone.
I know. But I love how these idiots on the internet say all this stuff and act like they know what they're talking about, but the owner of the car, who's actually been developing it for a long time and researching stuff about other people who, say, drag race a front-wheel drive, don't worry about what they're doing.
Yeah, but they know a lot about drag racing, but why are you getting wheelie bars? Like, Jesus Christ, this guy's an encyclopedia. Now, for those who haven't noticed, in the States, you might see a lot of guys with, excuse me, Civics. They don't have wheelie bars. They're a longer wheelbase car. Have a close look at the fast ones. They actually move the rear wheels back.
They're also, depending on the class too, some of the classes you're not allowed to run them.
Yeah, but have a look at the rear wheel.
They've actually extended the wheelbase.
Oh yeah, the rear wheel is right back against the back of the bumper. Like, they've moved the wheel, say, 6 inches backwards to increase the wheelbase. A Starlet's wheelbase is this long. All the quick ones. There's ones running 8s in Malta and stuff. They've all got wheelie bars.
And there's another comment. Front-wheel drive cars don't push forward and lift the front, they pull. Nothing lifts off the ground, hence no reason for the bars. So apparently,
Physics 101.
Apparently when a front-wheel drive, if you launch a powerful front-wheel drive, why would the nose lift? It doesn't lift at all.
If you get an Uber driver, it actually shows the state of, I guess, our driving level in Australia. The real state.
I know, if you want to see this, how bad it is, just get an Uber. It is shocking. But here's a story about a bloke. He was taking someone to an apartment and he thought it was the driveway and just drove down a staircase, a walkway. I mean, how can you muck that up?
Speaking of weird stuff you see on the road, have a look at this guy. I filmed this. I was working. Now I'm in the passenger seat, just so you don't think I'm driving the car. But this is real footage I took of some dude driving like a full South Park Segway unicycle. I don't even know what the hell this is, but he was doing, that's in an 80 zone. He was probably doing like as fast as you'd go, like fast on a bike. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't want to be on that thing.
Looks like a bit of a wrong maneuver and you just faceplant it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. You're just standing there. It doesn't look like the sort of thing you could pull up in a hurry.
No.
Weird. These things are worth a couple of grand, I believe.
Have a look at this Renault Megane accident on the Nürburgring. Renault. Over 200 k's an hour. Hits the barrier that hard. It's ridiculous. Does about 6 rolls. Shows you the safety of a modern car. Bloke gets out of the car. I think he was fine. Told you the Meganes can fly.
You know when you read articles and you think, like, is this from The Onion? Or whatever? Like, how do these things actually happen? But this is actually real.
You haven't read it, and the further you get into this article, it's just Darwin Awards.
I haven't actually read it, so I've just read the headline, which is driver sets fire to car after attempting to remove incorrect fuel with a vacuum cleaner. So I'm just going to stick an electrical device down the petrol tank. What can go wrong? Look at the picture.
I can summarise it though. Basically, this old bird's filled up her car. I think it was a diesel car, and she's accidentally put petrol in it. So then she's obviously gone and told someone at the service station what's going on, and they've said, no, we've got to get the mechanic in to fix this, and probably
Drain
the tank, swap the fuel. So she didn't want to pay for the mechanic to come and fix it up for her. So she's got a 20-year-old there to help her, and they've rolled the car out of the service area and where the vacuum cleaners are. I'm assuming it's like a car wash like what we have. They put this vacuum cleaner in the tank, sucked the fuel out. It sucked it out so quick, the fuel has just gone into the vacuum pump.
It says here.
Ignited. That's lit up. The car's lit up.
But hang on, back it up. Where did she think the fuel was going to go?
That's a good question. The 20-year-old got burns. Apparently she did $52,000 of damage to the petrol station.
But if you're going to use a vacuum cleaner, the fuel's going to go into the vacuum cleaner. Isn't that kind of a given?
And this is to save what? A call-out fee by the mechanic?
Talking about safety on new vehicles, how's this video? Bit of a viral video you might have seen the last couple of weeks getting
I think
around.
this bloke might be in shock, you reckon?
Time to buy that Powerball ticket.
He's sitting in the car. Have a look at the damage. There's basically hardly any of this car left. There's no wheels on the car, or most of the car. Half the rear end's just missing. The front's half missing. There's no door, I think. And he's just sitting there chilling.
But today's generation... I've got to film it.
Have a look at this ad by the Queensland Police Service. It's talking about basically if you're doing 60 k's an hour, of course you pull up on a dime, and if you do 65, you'll take another 7 metres to brake. So, why would you speed? It's the most absurd generalisation. Doesn't take into account the car, the driver reaction, anything.
Yeah, but with that logic, why not do 40 k's?
I was going to say, why not even just don't drive your car at all? Just get out and ride a bike.
That's just really low-level, dumb...
fear-mongering tactics.
The thing that's reducing the road toll the most is safety advancements in cars. Nothing more.
I mean, look how much better, especially on... If you take most performance cars that are made these days, they've got bloody good brakes on them. As opposed to a performance car from 20 years ago, the brakes by today's standards are pretty average.
The car's designed to withstand an accident much better.
Much better, yeah. But I mean, you watch this ad and you kind of like, if you're kind of into cars, you just watch it and you go, what?
You compare, like, the car in the ad is a toy Camaro. You compare a toy Camaro to, say, someone driving a Toyota RAV4. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
why are you saying toy Camaro? It's meant to represent a car.
I know that, dumbass. I'm saying it's a toy Camaro, but I'm saying...
Why are you saying you're comparing a toy Camaro to a RAV4? You should say an actual real Camaro.
God.
You're a moron.
Have you seen this chick? Amy Double D from Texas?
What does a double D mean?
What do you think it means?
A few years ago, I got this RFID implant in my hand, and it's just basic access control. If I were to tap my hand to your phone, it would automatically open a browser and go to my webpage.
She put an RFID chip, basically melted down her key. Tesla has like a credit card key, if you haven't seen it. She melted it down. What are those things?
She put it in her wrist or something, did she?
Yeah, she put it in her wrist. And it actually works. Like, what is the point?
So she can walk up and...
I mean, we've all got an RFID chip in our pocket.
But does she walk up and just...
I think she just went like that against the door and it opens.
Oh, wow, that's...
It works, but it's like, what's the point?
Couldn't she just stick that Tesla key somewhere else?
Probably.
The segment I always do, the new cars.
You love your new cars.
You see this Bugatti. How do you pronounce this?
Bugatti.
Centorici. But anyway, it's a tribute to remember the old car, I think it was from the 90s, Bugatti EB10?
Yeah, they had the 300ZX flat headlights.
That was at a time that it competed against, I think, the Jaguar XJ220. It was around that period. And it was, I think
At the time, the Jag was a much better looking car.
Yeah, the Bugatti was. I think it was
quite
always
ugly,
baby
to be honest.
blue too, and it was a weird color.
It wasn't a good looking car.
They did a tribute to that based on the Chiron, you know, the current Bugatti.
How do you pronounce it?
I think it's Chiron, not Chiron.
How do the Americans pronounce it?
I don't know. I heard someone calling it a Chiron.
Well, these are by people who call a Celica a Celica.
And Nissan. But anyway, they've made some changes to it. It produces just a lazy 1578 horsepower.
Is that all?
They're only going to make 10 cars, that's it, and they're going to cost the equivalent of Australian $16 million each.
$16 million.
See, it looks pretty full on.
It looks unreal.
Speaking of Chirons, that the car's based on, they modified one and put a slightly longer tail on it.
So when they modified that, they must have put a Barra engine in it.
Surely. They put a slightly longer tail on it. I think they put about an extra, almost, I think 25 centimetres on the arse, probably to give it some more, less drag. They put a little bit more power in it. What else did they do to it? I think they put a little bit of weight out of it.
What tyres did they run on it?
Well, that was the thing. They changed to taller top gearing, and they developed a tyre with Michelin, because I was saying the only thing holding this back for a while now has been tyre technology.
Michelin seemed to be at the forefront of...
They had to get a tyre that was rated, I think, to 510 kilometres an hour.
Jeez.
And their goal was to run 300 miles an hour.
They ran over that, didn't they?
They went 304, which is 490 k's an hour.
Far out.
It's just absurd. And you're watching, you think it accelerates pretty quick over 200, you know, kind of 2 to 250, and you think, look at the gearing they've got to put in at 2 to do that speed. You know, they could gear that car back and make it accelerate faster. That's what you got to take into account too. But it's pretty incredible.
So it's basically what a top fuel car runs to about mid-track.
Well, they were saying too that speed, the biggest issue is keeping it on the ground, planted, because they say if you're in a light aircraft, you'd actually be flying at that speed. That's how absurd it is. It's crazy. You have to wonder. I think they were actually saying too, I think Bugatti is saying after hitting 300, because that's been a long-term goal, they're actually not, well, they say this, they're not going to keep going up to these speed records, because I think they got to the point where, like, what's the point?
It seems a bit dangerous.
They also said this actual car, because everyone's like, oh, it's a modified one, it's not a production car. They said they are going to do a handful of them based on the changes they made.
I'm sure they will.
Pretty ridiculous.
People will want to buy that, even though they're never going to use it.
Remember the name Gordon Murray?
Who doesn't know the name Gordon Murray?
He designed the original McLaren F1, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
His next car he wants to design, or I'm not far how on the project it is, but it's only got 650 horsepower.
Yeah, but that's actually, it's not running any hybrid or EV
No,
or
nothing.
anything.
It's just
old school.
It's an old school. I think it's what is it? Traditional manual transmission.
Mm-hmm.
650 horsepower. It's only going to weigh 980 kilos.
Yeah.
So a lot of the problems with these cars, like...
But the original F1 was fairly light. That was only about 1,100 odd kilos.
But he just wants that raw style... Because they were saying it's probably the last kind of supercar that'll be made that has that traditional style of driveline in it. I reckon a very cool car actually is the new Audi RS6.
That looks unreal.
That wagon.
That looks really good.
It's got here 22-inch rims. It's so aggressive. The stance. Yeah. You can option carbon 440mm brakes. I had to get the calculator out and go, what is that in inches? That's...
What on earth would you need carbon brakes? Have you ever driven a car with carbon brakes?
No, I haven't, no.
I've driven 2, I think, and I drove the same car with carbon brakes and one with steel brakes. And on the road, I thought the carbon brakes... They're
not designed for that, though, are they? That's what's silly on a street car, really.
No, I just thought the steel brakes, the pedal and everything, I just found was much nicer. On a track, I'm sure it's different, but putting carbon brakes on a road car is purely just a bit of a wank fact that I've got carbon brakes. Because, you can't replace the pads. You have to replace the whole lot. But then again, if you're buying a car that has factory carbon brakes, you can probably afford to replace them.
You look at that and you think, is that a family wagon? It does 200 k's in like 12 seconds.
Oh, that's an awesome looking
4-litre twin turbo V8.
The guards, the stance, the guards they've put on it just looks unreal. It looks like one of those concept cars that you're like, oh, there's no way they'll produce that. Like they'll water it down heaps.
Another car that's just been in the news this week, Porsche's new electric car called a Taycan. So you pronounce it Taycan.
Isn't it called a Turbo S?
Well, that's what's confusing people. They actually stuck the turbo badge on the back, and everyone's like, "Oh, it hasn't got a turbo. It's electric." And I thought the same thing, going, "Why are they calling it a Porsche Turbo?" But apparently, they always stick turbo on their top of the line car. And obviously it's come
But
from
it does sound
it's come
a bit
from
silly.
being oh no, you're gonna go, that's the Taycan turbo. Or what turbo? What? Oh no, it's just an electric car.
When it first came out and that news came out, I thought that they were selling two. I thought there was the EV one, and then I thought they're selling a petrol turbo version. But the EV one's called a turbo. It's just, it doesn't make any sense.
One thing Tesla, obviously you always hear Tesla's got this ridiculous, ludicrous mode, and it does 0 to 100 in, I don't know, 2.6 seconds or something absurd, and nothing beats it. But Porsche came out and theirs does only 3.2 or something. But the difference is that Tesla, if you do it once or twice, apparently it says you can't keep doing it. It will say, and on top of that, even if you put it in the mode, it even says, it gives you a warning, says you could damage the batteries and stuff doing this.
Porsche have some really cool water cooling system, don't they?
And they're running, I think, an 800 volt.
Yeah, 800 volts.
So less amps, so less heat.
Yeah.
I was saying that's double a normal EV. But what they were saying was even one of the journos went and got the car and did something like 0 to 120 mile an hour runs in a row. It did not falter.
Oi, no battery lasts longer. No battery? No battery lasts longer.
So you just can't do that with any electric car. It'll pull everything down and, you know, kind of...
How many do you reckon you could run in the Renault?
All day, bro. The same Porsche just did a 7 minutes 42 around the Nürburgring. Still see a lot of things online saying electric's going to be boring. How can a car that has instant torque and like 1200 Newton meters be boring to drive, realistically?
No.
Yes, it doesn't have sound, but I think having a car that accelerates like that, and the chassis on these electric cars are getting really good now.
You have to wonder how many people, honestly, who might pay out on electric... I know electric has its faults like anything, but how many people have actually driven one?
Oh, hardly anyone.
They haven't. And you can't really say you've driven a freaking Nissan Leaf. Do you know what I mean? You sort of need to drive something like a Tesla to an experience and an EV experience, don't you?
It'll get better. The prices will come down, and eventually I reckon people will start, say the two cars in the family, they'll have one that's electric and one that's...
Yeah, I think that'll be common.
You know, but I think...
But it's, in Australia, it's not going to happen in the next couple of years, jeez.
Look at this Chinese concept car, front-wheel drive, runs 7 minutes 20 around the Nürburgring.
Wow.
It's the weirdest looking car. It actually looks like it's...
That's seriously fast.
I know. They've grafted a Dodge Charger front end, and then it's got headlights on top of the...
Yeah, is that just a one-off car?
It's by a company called Lynk & Co. Never heard of it.
Lincoln Co.
7 minutes 20, eclipsed the Renault Megane and Civic Type R by 20 seconds.
Does it say anything about like setup? Like, is it on a road tyre or the design?
Have a look at this line they put in here. The Lincoln Co. time smashed Holden's record-setting attack in 2013 with a V8 power Commodore Ute by almost 1 minute. What was record-setting about Holden's Ute?
It was a Ute.
It was the only Ute that ever went round, so it's a world record.
I guess they're just trying to, you know, compare it to something the average Australian would relate to.
It's got a 2-litre 4-banger, 376 kilowatts, 6-speed sequential transmission. Oh, that sounds like a street car.
376.
Yeah, I mean, it's a concept car. Who knows? But pretty
That's
mental.
cool, though.
I know.
Speaking of fast cars, what about Frankie and the Dandy Engines XW? Well done, guys.
Well done.
6.9 at what? 211. That is
That's a heavy car, and people who ever I don't know. I'm sure there's some idiot out there who doubted the dyno figures we posted up, but
and you know, it's not like a car like that you can just go all in at the start. It's just pure power management. They've got a fuel tech system on board that. Yeah, incredible car.
This is a VW, what's called a Lupo. Never heard of it.
Yeah, I know what that is.
You know what that is?
Yeah.
It's got 2 Golf R engines and 2 GSG gearboxes, so one front and back.
I know the car you're talking about. It looks horrendous.
It looks ridiculous. It's from Romania, and they had it at Santapod, England, racing it. And every time he tried to lay into it, the thing was just trying to drive left. Like, just driving off the track, wrong lanes. I'm like, that is so... I mean, I know it's very unsorted, and dual-engine cars...
It looks like he's put top fuel tyres on it. It just looks...
Well, it looks funny, because
so
it looks like he's got it on a different chassis, and he's cut and shut it.
It's a tube car, though, isn't it?
I don't know.
I don't think it's a OE chassis.
It looks pretty absurd, but I thought I'd just throw it in there because it's pretty funny.
Like, I kind of like the idea, yeah, it's got 2 motors, but there's plenty of twin-engine cars that still look like it. a road car. That just looks weird. Bit of a backyard Frankenstein job, that one.
You're adding a bit of weight too, doing that. You forget, like...
How's the new BMW... Supra, running into the 10s already with just a tune, some tyres, and some Bowser race gas, is it? Is that what it's running?
Bowser fuel. No. It had other fuel in it. I saw a drum.
Yeah, but it's still standard engine, standard turbo.
Yeah.
Not bad. I think, what did it run? 10.9. What mile an hour was it?
125 maybe?
I think Toyota have under-quoted the power of that car, haven't they?
Yeah, because a lot of journos...
Because even stock trim, they're taking it to the drag.
They're even lining it up with the equivalent BMW, and every time, the Toyota always just slowly pulls away.
Oh, quite easily.
And they're both pretty much way similar, I think. But there is so many people complaining it's got a BMW engine. I think, who cares?
Yeah. No, the people who will never buy one. They've never owned any Supra.
Everyone is... all the journos are raving, saying it's a really good car. Why wouldn't
They're
it
by
be?
people who put the Supra up on a pedestal. I don't know. There's plenty of people watching who've probably never driven a Supra. Nothing wrong with the Supra. But it's a 90s car. It's not like you hop in it and you're just like blown away by the performance by today's standards. It's not. It's good. It's like a good car from the 90s, but it's not like a freaking... It's not like some revolutionary supercar. Do you know what I mean?
But anyway... Already in the 10s. I got no doubt in the US.
They'll probably be in the 9s by the time you watch this.
I reckon if it was Australia though, the first thing we'd do is put a power glove behind it, surely.